Hi, I'm Grace Cozby. I am a junior early childhood through 6th grade elementary education major. I hope this presentation gives you a better understanding of my math history and what math was like for me throughout my childhood. The best analogy for my childhood math experience is like a fish swimming upstream. It can be done, but it is not easy. I remember in elementary school, the biggest struggle I had was with word problems. They were hard because you had to decipher the whole problem before you could even do the math, and they always used complicated math words. I honestly do not remember my teachers giving me much help with this struggle. They would just do a couple of problems in front of the class and expect me to catch on. My parents were the ones that really helped me to break down the problems and then understand them. When I reflect back on this memory, I realize how many things I want to do different in my classroom when I teach word problems. First, I want to make sure my students understand the vocabulary and wording that goes along with word problems. I also want to be able to work through these types of problems with my students and allow them to work through them with others. I do not just want to show a problem on the board and hope they get it. Along with my elementary school memories, I remember my time at math camp. I did not like math in elementary school. It was my least favorite subject. Then one day, my mom comes home and announces she has signed me up for math camp, and I am mortified. The last thing I wanted was to spend a week of my summer break doing math. However, this was not like any math class I had ever been to. It was all about playing games and working through activities together. The teacher had such a positive attitude and enjoyment when it came to math. She wanted to have fun too. This gave math a whole new light for me and allowed me to actually see some enjoyment in math. I hope I can implement a lot of that in my classroom. I want math to be fun and enjoyable and have games my students can work through as a group. I also want to make sure my disposition about math is positive and fun-loving. That is the only way I can instill that in my students. My biggest memory from middle school is once again struggling. I remember going to tutoring after school for math. I struggled with algebraic concepts like finding x. I thought this struggle was not so much as the teacher's fault as the time constraints. I often needed different ways of explanation for math that other students didn't, and there was just not enough time in the day to give me a separate instruction. I hope when I'm a teacher, I can explain one concept in multiple ways and have a differentiated classroom so as many of my students can learn as possible. I want to be able to conference with small groups of students as they work on a math activity so I can really help students who still need another method of explanation. In high school, math was still hard, but slightly easier than in middle school, as I was just building on the base that I had built in middle school. The hardest thing for me in high school was just really understanding the new concepts. In high school, many of my teachers were very smart, but because of that, struggled to explain the concepts to students who didn't already just get it. They couldn't understand or know how to teach when a student didn't just naturally understand it. This often took a lot of outside classwork and watching a lot of YouTube math instructional videos for me to fully understand the concepts. I hope in my future classroom I can make my thinking public and really explain to my students how to do math processes. I also want them to come to understand the concepts themselves through the process of discovery. Then they will understand how and why to do math concepts, and it will stay with them far longer than if I just explain it to them and tell them how to think. Overall, my childhood math experiences may not have been the most fun or the easiest, but I made it through. I swam upstream and survived, thanks to all the help I received. I hope to use these experiences to make my classroom a place where every learner has an equal chance, and I do my best to meet my students' unique needs. I also hope to make math something my class does not dread, but actually looks forward to doing every day. I love this quote by William Paul Thurston, and it is something I want to make greatly evident in my future classroom. He says, "Mathematics is not about numbers, equations, computations, or logarithms. It is about understanding." I want my students to understand why and how math exists, and how it is not just formulas for arbitrary problems.